We've had plenty of international racing over the past 2 weeks. Big features to look forward to, and this past weekend we had the Breeders' Cup, which all eyes were on. But on Tuesday we've got the Melbourne Cup out in Australia, and this is a race set to be run over the 3,200 meter trip, and you can catch the action live on Gallop TV at 6 p.m. and rather should I say 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning. That is live from Flemington Racecourse, 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning, where number 14 Half Yours and Valiant King top the boards with Hollywoodbets currently at 6-1. About those two, you've got Presage Nocturne at 7-1, who's the horse that I'm going to tip up as the top choice in the Melbourne Cup. I think that he's going to go very close to winning. You've got Aurifa, who's got a big weight to shoulder. He is at 8-1, and he's also drawn very deep. Buckaroo at 8-1, and then it is 20-1 and better about the balance. So we've just got 5 horses in single figures ranging from 8-1 up until 8-1. And just touching on horse number 6, Presage Nocturne. Now he's a horse that arrives in excellent form in this race, and he is going to be the ride of Stefan Pasquier. He's a horse that has been running very, very well of late. He stays well. He's been winning from 2,500 up until 3,200 meters, and he's a horse that has won a Group 3 over 3,000 meters and third in a Group 2, in a Group 1 I should say, over the 3,200 meter trip. So he's a horse that comes in with a nice weight of 55.5 kgs and could be well placed to perhaps get that job done in the Melbourne Cup. And he's horse at 7-1. It's a race that the top weights are never really fancied in the Melbourne Cup. You always have to look towards the bottom end of the weights to find the winner. And to add to that, the track condition is going to come up very, very heavy and soft on the day. So that is something to take into account as well when making your final bets and getting them on, because often the conditions of the race could play into the hands of some of the horses that like it soft and sticky. And a horse like Half Yours, well, he was victorious in the Caulfield Cup. He's a horse that a lot of the Australians are following him and expect him to win here. He's a horse that won very well in the Caulfield Cup, and they're hoping that he can back it up here. He's at 6-1 in the market. If you look right to the bottom of the weight, you've got a horse by the name of Valiant King. Jai McNeil takes the ride for Chris Waller. He's at 6-1 in the market. He's a horse that has got some solid form to his name, and a runner that will be jumping from gate number 10. So he's got a neat draw as well to deal with. And just having a look at what he has to bring to the party, Valiant King. And finished midfield in last year's race, but he's certainly in better form leading into this year's contest. He won his ticket into the race by winning the Bart Cummins, and then made a bold run to finish third in the Caulfield Cup. So he's a horse that has got the right credentials to his name to be very, very competitive. A horse that punters have been for in the past, in the last 2 years in the Melbourne Cup, is a horse by the name of Vauban. Now, he's not exactly in the best space heading into the race, but he's been favourite in the last 2 years. And sometimes horses that you can often forget about can pop up on you. And this is his third year. He was sold after last year's race, so he has remained in Australia for the duration from last year up until this year. So it's been a year in Australia. He's had time to acclimatise, and given that he's been the favourite, there must have been something that punters saw in him that would have swayed them in his direction over the past 2 years. But he's now at 20-1 in the market for this year's running of the Melbourne Cup, and he could just be the spooker of the pack, trading at 20-1. Blake Shin does take the ride. Conditions will suit him on the day. He stays well, so there's no issues with that. It's just a matter of Vauban putting his best foot forward, and he's a runner that could certainly be competitive. Absurd, he runs for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins had a fantastic weekend with Ethical Diamond winning the Breeders' Cup on turf, and that was over the weekend. So Willie Mullins will be hoping that Absurd can put his best foot forward. He's at 25-1 in the market. Horses that you want to include into bets like maybe a swinger bet, trifecta bet, a horse like this horse Arapaho at 33-1 in the market with Rachel King. We've got a horse by the name of Further at 25-1 in the market that can get involved. And just having a look at the balance, horses like At the Baskin were just 51.5 on the back at 100-1. These are all horses that can pop up on their day, especially with such light weights. But I think a horse like Presage Nocturne at 6-1, it will be remiss if I don't touch on the top weight here. Number 1, Aurifa. He's got arguably some of the best form heading into the race. He's at 8-1 in the market, but not going to be easy with 59 kgs on the back. If he is to win, he'll be the first horse to do so with such a big weight. And then we've got a horse by the name of Buckaroo, who got within a hit of Via Sistina and the Cox Plate. That form is generally a piece of form that punters use as a guide heading into the Melbourne Cup. And Buckaroo with Craig Williams in the iron for Chris Waller. He's a horse that is drawn out in gate number 12. And he's at 8-1, another horse that can get involved. But Press Odds Nocturne going to be the top choice, followed by Valiant King, and then the 14 horse Half Yours. And then a horse like Vauban is a horse that I'll keep on the safe side at 20-1, and then include numbers 1, 2, even a horse like number 8, Maidan. Track conditions won't suit him on the day, but he's a horse that is very, very capable. So that is it for the Melbourne Cup. We've also got a small preview that you can tune into, and the guys will give us an update on what the track condition is likely to come up on the day, and their thoughts on this Melbourne Cup for 2025. 6 a.m. is the off time, race number 7, and you can catch the action live on Gallop TV.
Welcome to our preview of Lexus Melbourne Cup Day. After a fabulous Derby day, we look towards the biggest race, the 2 mile feature on the racing calendar here in Australia. David Gately, a bit misleading behind us, because the beautiful sunshine and warm weather that we have at the moment, we will not have come Lexus Melbourne Cup Day. Does that throw a spanner in the works for you?
Oh no, I think we know what we're dealing with. You know, I think there's 75,000 different bureaus that want to tell you it's going to rain. So let's assume we're looking for those horses that can handle slow to heavy ground.
I guess soft or heavy is the question that will be answered come race morning, what we're working with and whether we get rain during the day, which is very important to figure out as we get into the program. The big one, race 7, the Lexus Melbourne Cup. Lots of prize money up for grabs, 2 mile. And we've got such a vast, broad field from all over the world coming, as we usually do.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, some of the locals have great hopes, especially that Caulfield Cup winner in Half Yours. What a race it sets up to be.
No, you're spot on. It's Australia's greatest race, has been for over 100 years, and I don't think that'll ever change. And this year's a terrific rendition because you've got a couple of those internationals that are world class. El Riffer's obviously at the top of that, but the horse you referenced, Half Yours, he's the one on the up. I remember targeting him as possibly or potentially the best wet tracker in Australia a few months ago. And here he is in a Melbourne Cup as favourite, Lexus Melbourne Cup as favourite, and he will handle the ground, whereas some of his key rivals are more of a query.
So he's a justified favourite in your eyes?
Look, I think he deserves to be favourite. You know, he's still got to run the 3200. No one's overly concerned about it, but it's just a question that's unanswered at the minute.
And for pedigree buffs out there, he's by St Jean. He's sized by Teofilo, who's side 3 Melbourne Cup winners, which is a great pointer for those who like the breeding or want to get more interested in delving into it. Other chances, dangers around Half Yours?
Yeah, well, I was looking at this race from away out as we do, and I thought it might be an internationals year, and then along comes Buckaroo off a dynamite run in the Cox Plate. Went back and looked at his run in the Lexus Melbourne Cup last year, and he was probably the best run in the race, in my very humble. He drew barrier 5,000. They went back to last and tried to make an 800-metre run on an inside bias track. I thought he went enormous. Okay, bit of a different prep. I know he'll handle the ground, and I don't have concerns about him at the trip. His class will take him a long way. He's my top pick. Scared stiff of Presage Nocturnal, who was excellent in the Caulfield Cup back in trip. Gap between runs, now steps up in trip, gets a wet track. Half Yours is the other must include, and certainly Valiant King down the bottom, another terrific run in the Caulfield Cup. He's a different horse since the blinkers went on, so there's 4, but it doesn't end there, as we know.
Gee, so you've jumped off Half Yours and you put Buckaroo on top.
Yeah, look, I was pretty keen Half Yours into the Caulfield Cup, and look, he's the key winning hope, but you can only have one on top, and that's Buckaroo. But look, it'd be un-Australian not to take a trifecta and first 4, so I'll definitely be doing that.
Absolutely, and on Buckaroo, you mentioned a lot of once-a-year punters look to that Cox Plate form reference, which you're doing. Now, speaking of exotic bets, first 4s, trifectas, quinellas, etc., who are you adding in that perhaps are at longer odds?
Yeah, I've given you those 4. I like Maidan getting to a big track, Flemington. I am a little concerned about the wet with he and Further, the Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old who was terrific winning 2 starts ago. So those 6 will definitely go in, maybe even River of Stars, and play some exotics there, a few roving banker trifectas and first 4s and then a box trifecta. Have a bit of fun with it, and that's what it's all about.
I have to ask you about one more. He's been here. In fact, both of the stablemates at the time have been here. Vauban and Absurd.
Look, I think Vauban and I are going to see other people now. You know, I'm going to work around him, but if he wins, I'll probably lose. And same story, Absurd, as he gets, you know, into the twilight of what's been a great career.
It's going to be a fabulous race, and it's one of those races that It's hard to turn anybody off anything, but
Yep.
I'm with you. The pointy end of the market looks to have this race sorted out, a bit unlike last year, Gator. Have you got anything else on Lexus Melbourne Cup Day that can steer the punters into?
Yeah, look, race 9, number 15, a horse called Surf and Bird. Couldn't have won any better at Caulfield. Sat wide all the way, bolted in, ran sensational time. And the wet track holds no fears for this horse. So on a typically challenging Melbourne Cup Day card, I made Surf and Bird the best race 9.
I think the best way to go is to follow all social media and follow all the media outlets to see what the weather does, how the track plays, and all expert analysis, especially from this man, David Gately. Wishing you best of luck for the 2025 Lexus Melbourne Cup.
Same to you, mate, and punters.